Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
There will again be two screens, two streams.
Yeah, I'm interested. So obviously it's okay. So Shelly's in here. Doesn't say mobile, so she's in here on the straight up version. Well, it's the one I'm on. Lol. I don't know what my mum's. Yeah. Okay, we got 11 on this one. I'm actually gonna pull the other one to see. So it's got. Oh, is it combined viewers at the top? Actually, it must. Yeah, it must combine the viewers. Okay. There is two streams again. We thought it looked like it helped a little bit with outreach last week, so we decided to give it a little test out again to see what happens, just because it's funny. But if you're on the mobile one, you know what, and you're one of the regulars, obviously you can come over to our trusty handy dandy desktop version, unless you are on mobile, and it's better, to be fair. I don't know. Welcome back to another episode of Work in Progress. How's it going, everyone? Good morning, Shelley. Good morning, Mum. Which feels bastard to say.
How was your weekend anyway? Was it good?
Mine. We had a very Christmassy weekend. Very, very Christmassy weekend. It was so I don't know. Actually, I haven't spoken about this. Going back, it wasn't the weekend, but last week I left work and I went to go home, as you do. It was, I think, Wednesday, because I think I was away Wednesday, Thursday. And I went to go jump in my car after work, after I dropped my parcels off. Turn the key. I'm like, and in my head, it's funny because I did a long drive on the weekend. So I was like, oh, I wonder where this has come from. And I thought I'd left something on, but I don't think my car's too modern for that to really be an issue. I don't think that's how it works. I don't know if you can think of anything or if anyone knows any different as to why I might be stupid. But there's, generally speaking, my car's too modern. If you turn the ignition off, it's not going to keep the battery running or any of the electrics running or whatever. So I started it. I was like, oh god. So basically, I got my parcel shop guys to come jumpstart my car. I jumpstarted my car, drove it home, sat in the driveway for a bit with it running to try and charge it up. It worked for a little bit, and then I came back in the morning, dead. Obviously, my mum's away, so
I'm intrigued now. Is it fixed?
No, so it's not fixed. So I basically that next day I was like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing today, is it? I took the battery out, took it out. I have a charger inside, so I took it out, went to put it in charge. Also, stupidly, I haven't dealt with a modern car before. I was dealing with like 2007 before, 2011 or something like that.
Yeah.
And when you take the battery out, it obviously, on modern cars, like resets everything a lot. Like if it can fuck up a few things. So I didn't account for that. So we'll deal with that when it comes. We'll do it. Tried to charge the battery up, didn't work. Tried to charge the battery up with a different charger that I have, didn't work. And it told me to replace a new battery. So I ordered a new battery, and I've been waiting since, I think I ordered it on Thursday, and I've been waiting since to get it. And they only sent it out yesterday. Even though they're like, oh yeah, it should be with you between 1 to 2 days. I was like, fantastic, this is great news. And we ordered it from like a website because it's a bit cheaper. And yeah, so it should be coming today, and I should have replaced the battery. But I've basically nicked my mum's car for the last few days, and that's been fun. What I realized though, this is a side note, I've been wanting to cycle to work for ages. I've been wanting to cycle for work for ages because I don't know. Did you, when you were a kid, anyone else, if you ordered from me, you could have gotten it next day. You know what, Hanley? I messaged you when in one of the calls in DMs. I was like, hey, Hanley, do you have any batteries? And I didn't get a response. I was like, oh, I just checked your store. It doesn't look like you have any batteries, but can you get me any? And then you just left the call, and I was like, okay. I didn't know you'd seen it, and it could be us. I was like, okay, no worries. But I did consider it, and then by the time I looked, and obviously I probably just could have messaged you directly, but it made a lot more sense. But
we would have done.
Yeah. Do you even sell batteries? Because I looked, and you had like 2 or 3 maybe batteries. Like one was like a Suzuki.
I wonder if have you seen that there's a new packaging, like like the German like plastic thing that they were talking about on eBay, where you weren't allowed to send certain stuff to Germany like about 2 years ago. I got a message on the other day saying that battery, like there's a new procedure for posting batteries, or you're not allowed to post batteries or something. So I was wondering if that was going to be something that impacted like the car parts and like batteries, or whether it's slightly different in the terms of.
I thought batteries were always a dodgy thing anyway, because of just like how they're composed, and that there was always rules and regulations around batteries and stuff like that. I don't know if that's true. I might be making it up.
Yeah, they might have reaffirmed some of the rules maybe in the message that I seen, but yeah, I was wondering whether it was going to impact people that sold like car batteries and stuff like that.
No, we'll see. I also feel like our chat's extra delayed today. I don't know if that's right.
It does seem a bit off today. But
is anyone else seeing this in postage stamp mode? Andy, okay. Anyone that's here now, there is 2 streams. One is in vertical mode, just so we can maybe capture some of the other audience. I don't know if it goes on to like shorts and stuff. And then there's also landscape mode, the normal one. They're both on the channel live right now. You can switch between whichever ones you like. Whatever floats your boat. If you're on mobile, apparently the portrait one's a bit better. If you're on something else that isn't a mobile, then probably the landscape's the one for you. Anyway, yeah, so we're gonna have to go home at some point and sort that today. But the weekend was Christmassy.
Christmasing, oh god, sounds like a horrific weekend. I apologize for you.
I'm not hearing this humbug bullshit though. We went picked up the Christmas tree on Saturday.
Is it a new Christmas tree? Do you buy real trees?
Yeah, we're a real tree people.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense.
We got, to be fair, we weren't. We were plastic, a synthetic tree for ages, and we got introduced to it. And then it's like a nice tradition. I feel like it's probably like that. This is the start when we go buy the tree and suddenly everything comes out, And to be fair, I wasn't feeling that Christmassy, and neither was my mom this year. And then we got all the stuff out, and you just can't help it. It just it's all cozy. There's lights everywhere. It's a great time. So yeah, did the first part of the decorating on that day. Watched some terrible Christmas movie. Absolute. I don't know if anyone's seen it on Netflix. Like Jingle Bell Heist, sucked. Terrible. Bad choice. Fun thing we did. This has nothing to do with resetting. I'm just yapping at this point. We did watch something called Murderville. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, and it was Christmas Murderville. And it's basically something ran by a guy who's in Arrested Development, don't know his real name. And he basically, they have like a scene for actors, but 2 actors have no script. So everyone has like, there's like a scenario going on, and there's scenes, and everyone's playing their role, except for 2 actors that just get thrown in and told to improvise as whatever's going. And it was like Jason Bateman and Ray or something. I can't remember the other one's name. And it was really funny, to be fair, because they're just told to do whatever. Anyway, I cut the story short about my weekend because I've just been talking about it. Yeah, then on Sunday, what did we do to start with? Can't remember. Lazed around for ages, and we eventually. I was basically going to come in and teach my mum how to take photos, because she wanted to help me take. Because obviously I got her backshot together, so she offered at some point to come in and help out with anything she could whilst I was kind of changing everything around. I was like, yeah, you could come in and help me bang out some photos whilst I do some other stuff. So it was meant to be a training day yesterday, but in true motherly fashion,
child labor to mother labor. I like it.
Basically. I like to flip the script sometimes. And in true motherly fashion, she came in and all we did was clean and organize.
Now that I definitely I can imagine for sure.
She came in, she looked at it, and she was like, "What fuck's this?" And to be fair, it wasn't horrendous, but there was basically some bit after I rejigged everything, got the washer dryer installed. There was things that were just homeless, that were just in the middle of the room, basically, because I didn't know where to put them. So we spent about an hour and a half, 2 hours jigging some stuff around, and now we're perfectly settled and ready for new activities.
Did you, as of the follow-up question from last week, then, did you ask her if there was anything that she would change based on the idea that she doesn't know the system that you currently have. Did she come in and look at anything? And because we spoke about it last week, right, where you said, would you take any advice from somebody that doesn't know what we do or how we do it, and stuff like that? Did you ask her for any advice, or did she have any input that suggested that you might be more efficient doing it in a slightly different way, or locating things in different places?
For efficiency in that way, there was some stuff that she like came in and was obviously she was trying to organize kind of, and there was stuff that I had in certain places that just I did because it makes sense, not because it looks good. So for example, just my desk, probably my main one is there's two things. One, I've got my poly bags just on the left hand side of my desk open. So basically I have my bag of items that I bring here, and then I print the labels out, and then I bring the item I need out onto the bag, put it away, grab the label from the right hand, flick the thingy off, put it in the bin, and grab the label and stick it on, and it's like a flow. And she was like, "Why are these on the desk?" And I was like, "Logistics." And she was like, "Did they ask me on deck?" I was like, "Yeah, because for flow read, you go like." And then the other one is my bin is like open, but like it doesn't have a lid. And she was like, "Can you at least put a lid on the bin?" And I was like, "Impractical." Because obviously when you're doing this and you're just like taking the things off, then I just like throw them into the bin as they go along. I was like, if we added a lid to it, it would be too much time to open the lid every single time. It's just not worthwhile. And she was like, okay. But there was something that was a really good idea. Oh, she did give me a really good idea. The only thing she'd changed in the process was the washing. She basically said, why? Because I don't have much space in there to sort my washing. So she basically said, why don't you hang 3 hooks on the wall with bags and have the different bits of washing you need to put in each bag. So now we've got 3 IKEA bags hanging up in there with the washing separated out into all of them. So they're all off the floor, which gave me some storage space, which also made sense just for the process of washing.
Smart.
You could ask her now, though. She didn't really do anything except a quick run through of the photos in terms of process. So
I'd be interested if there was anything that like niggled her as she was sort of like doing it, going, "Oh, this doesn't seem to make sense." Just because obviously we're all set in our ways of doing things, right?
Yeah, so it'd be fun. It'll be interesting to ask her once if she has a go, like if she goes through a lot and she's like, "I don't like this or this," but right now I don't know if she'll have any insight. She's here, so feel free. I will review this week and report back. There you go.
I want a full detailed report. Let's get your mum on the podcast next Monday, yeah? Full review.
Yeah, okay, you want to have a mother's one? You get your mum on as well.
Why not?
Does your mum know anything about what you do?
Yeah, she she's very arts and crafty, but she's like she married a guy well, like 10, 12 years ago, whatever now. Who basically was like very much into like selling at car boots, bought and sold a few bits and pieces anyway, like, but more of like the antique-y, like that sort of like bric-a-brac stuff, bits and pieces like that. And then obviously I talk a lot when I'm at hers anyway. So she understands pretty much most of the stuff that we do. And then she has like got her own Vinted account. Her husband's got her own his own account. They both sell on there. But my mum doesn't like, so what she'll do is she'll buy like, the reborn dolls. Have you seen those? The dolls that are like weighted as if they're babies, and they look super realistic. And they're basically made to be put in prams.
Oh.
Yeah, they're basically made to be put in prams and stuff.
Yeah, creepy.
Yes, they are, absolutely. But they're weighted as well, so they're weighted with beads and stuff, and they basically. You can get them in kits, or you can get them unfinished, and you can build them, and then she builds them up and then sells them. But she also used to make like teddies, like the Stife Bears and stuff like that. She would print out like patterns and build teddy bears and make teddy bears and stuff them and sell them and stuff like that. So she's always done a few bits and pieces, but obviously not anywhere to the level that we currently do it, but in general she like mainly sells on Facebook and Vinted and stuff like that. But those dolls are really creepy.
Those things are terrifying.
So but yeah, she knows a little bit and does a little bit. You're on the wrong screen again, by the way. I think
it's because when you share screen it switches, doesn't it?
So yeah, she knows a little bit. She understands it all. She's made a few. I'm not going to say how much. She's made a decent amount of money out of it. Like, she sells a lot on Facebook and stuff like that, like cash, and all that jazz. So, but yeah, she knows a little bit.
HMRC is watching. Do not order his mum.
She's just selling stuff in her backlog, don't worry. Like, it's all just stuff she's collected.
Yeah. Personal collection,
That's it.
Yeah, we can have we can all have a mother's episode at some point. we haven't even had a guest yet, to be fair.
No, I think we should get one at some point just for the.
I don't want to get to a year without a guest.
We're closing in on a year without a guest. Was it February the 2nd or something like that?
Was it just before my birthday? I think it was.
It was like the first Monday of February, I believe.
Who was our first viewer, technically? I mean, probably a lot of the people have been here since the start.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's the same people, to be fair.
I got nothing better to do. Yeah, that's my weekend. And I don't know. Realistically, we got meetings again this week with not business these meetings, but like meetings with potential people going on to get everyone on board with the new system that we've kind of been working on.
I genuinely can't wait for this new system because I'm enthusiastic for you to talk about it when obviously when you've set it up and you're ready to go, and it'll probably be like the new year by the time that we're talking about it realistically. But I'm super interested to see how people feel about it, like what their thoughts are on it, and then I'm super interested to see how far you can take it, because we've had private conversations, obviously, and stuff like that, where it genuinely feels like it is limitless. Like, obviously, there's a cap at some point, but the cap is so vast that it doesn't feel like you'd ever hit the cap, even if you wanted to. It's such an interesting concept and something that, I just think it'll be super, super interesting.
Yeah, it would just change around. And the thing is, you can adapt it, and I might have to adapt it pretty quickly. Who knows? Depending on how it goes. It's going to be interesting when stuff starts coming in. As what it looks like, and I'm gonna learn a lot very quickly, I assume. But before all that, I need to get rid of this massive pile on my sofa and crack on listing that, because it's very much in the way at this point. Has anyone? Should I show the pile of
no,
stuff?
No. Let's keep it quiet for now. Let's keep it.
I'll show the pile of stuff I've got.
You can show it if you want to,
but. Or how was your weekend? Have we done anything?
You know what, mate? Right, genuinely, let's talk eBay and reselling, because
I was gonna say maybe keep more than yes,
a little bit. But I want to say my Wednesday and my Thursday last week were so bad. So there's been a lot of chatter recently about eBay co-funded coupons. Sometimes you get invited to them. Sometimes you are on the Pro Trader program, and you can get involved in them and stuff like that. So I basically put myself in one of these co-funded eBay.
Sorry, that just reminds me. I meant to be on the pre-love partner is what I got. I don't know if it's happened yet. Don't know if I got the badge. But also still funny that they gave it to me when I've got the least listings and doing the least I have on eBay in 2 years. Carry on.
Sorry, yeah. So I was in the co-funded coupon for a little, for whatever the time period was, and there was one rough day in there, but for the most part, it was decent, right? Mm-hmm. And then as soon as it ended, so it ended on Thursday the 2nd. This was for Black Friday, and then what happens is that the co-funded coupon essentially ended the same time everybody had spent all their money on Black Friday. So it ended on the 2nd. Black Friday was the Friday before. Like, it just basically tanked, right? So Wednesday and Thursday last week were so bad. So I decided to chuck a 15% coupon on, just try and get some sales in. I've got some other stuff going on with my account that I haven't really shared, that I'll talk about at some point, that I was trying to deal with. So I needed to improve some percentages. So I just put a bit of a sale on to get some stock moving, to reduce those percentages and stuff like that. Anyway, over the last 3 days, we've had some pretty good days. It's been on the rise consistently. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all 3 days were improvements on there. So from a reselling standpoint, pretty good. And to be honest with you, I've spent a little bit of time in my head. Today is going to be writing it down on paper and doing what was like those mind maps. where you write in the middle what you want to do, and then like it just like comes off all the. So basically, today's task for me is I've been doing some mental mind mapping of my future and what I want for next year, and how we want it to look. So now I need to write it down in paper and then reverse engineer the plan and try and work out the ways to get it right and to find the sources to do all of these sorts of things. So yeah, that's kind of where it's been realistically. I've been very mentally on it the last couple of days, whereas I believe like maybe 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even a month before, my brain has just not been involved.
A couple of weeks ago, you were mush.
Yeah, so that, I mean, you probably know more than most, right? Like over the last month, I've probably been less interested in I couldn't have been less interested in a lot of what we were doing.
I mean, so your promise of like I'm not going to fuck around till a year, the year's done. I mean, you got there, to be fair, and I think I mean, obviously the topic for today, and obviously this is kind of what you're talking about almost straight away, is like goal setting and being like the reality of goal setting and dealing with it and hitting or achieving or aiming for growth and all this sort of stuff, right? But what I came to mind when I was thinking about this topic for us is like the books we've read, and aiming yourself and keeping yourself interested and engaged in something to keep you pushing forward. I think a big part of that, for example, on what you're saying is when you get bored and when you get that sort of thing, it's just because you don't have anything that interests you in what you're doing at the moment. And I think a big part of that in business for stuff like that is growth, like is doing something and aiming for something bigger. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense that you kind of died off because you went from up, this target to, okay, hold on a sec, need to reconcile business and then go again.
So obviously, for anybody who does or doesn't know, there are a few people that have assumed that I may have some ADHD traits, right? So I've done some like online tests and all that sort of stuff. And this week, I know a lot of them are guff, right? A lot of them are crap and whatever. But I've gone through different ones with different questions. And I was talking to my mum about it yesterday, and I was like, the funniest thing was there was one that came back as that it just says you are showing severe signs of the traits, right? And I was like, okay, what was super interesting about that one specifically was, when you can be straight and honest when you're answering questions, you can slightly over exaggerate, or you can compensate and go, actually, maybe not as bad, right? Every single question I answered for that one specifically, I under-egged. I was like, so there was basically not very much, a little bit, sometimes, so often and very often. And even when the answer was very often, I went with often. I was like, I'll downplay it a little bit. And it just came back at the end. It was like, no, bro, like you are it. But one of the things that what I did was, although I'm not self-diagnosing and I'm not too fussed about going and getting a proper diagnosis or anything like that. I'm not too fussed probably about getting any medication or anything like that for it or whatever, even if it was a thing. But I've been looking into the traits and looking into like what it does. And one of the things that is like so obvious is the pattern in which I have done things is very, very consistent with the pattern in what the traits for ADHD are, which is you get hyper-focused on one thing, you get to a level in terms of, so for instance, like we were saying there, all year I've gone focus, and then me and Tasha have had a conversation and said, look, I need to rein it in a little bit and let's just sit here at this level. But what happens is with the ADHD traits is as soon as you hit that point, you become disinterested and it becomes boring. And then when it becomes boring, you just don't care. And it's like done, right? And that's how I feel it's been for the previous months in which I've tried to chill. Now, what I will say is even while I'm chilling, we're having the best months of the year because it's not, we're just sitting and letting it do the thing that it's meant to do. Like you've been there for a long time, right? You're just sitting there and you're letting it tick over and you're making money and it's great. But I can't sit there for too long because it feels boring. So now when I find these other little things, so like I want to do the other niche and I'm trying to do all these things, this is what the sort of thing that keeps my brain active and interested in reselling, which is one of the reasons why I think I was so addicted to go into charity shops. And now that I've cut charity shops out and I source online, I feel like because it's so, the way that you do it is mundane. Whereas when you go to charity shops, there's that I mean, it fell off a lot, but like in terms of like the adrenaline, a little bit of dopamine when you find something interesting or you find a banger or whatever. Like I don't get that. Even on like I'll buy something for 20 quid. I bought a purple label like linen blazer for like 20 quid, and I've got it listed for 200. I just clicked the button and then carried on sourcing. Like there was no dopamine, there was no, because it's so blasé, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I've basically just been taking a lot of things on board and trying to work out my brain, even if it's not ADHD, right? And it's just my brain is a certain way, and I'm really trying to navigate how I work as a person, and then trying to get the most out of that from a business perspective, if that makes sense.
So I think it's interesting, right? Because this is the I have been accused also of but I'd say again, I'd say that sort of way of working is a very just a human thing. Like in terms of your interests and stuff like that, if you just look at most people, right, like just most people in general, there is a select few who can hold themselves to something whilst being bored of it. Like there's very few people like that, and those people that can pull up their I'm going to say grit.
Grit.
Pull up to like some grit to just keep going regardless of how, like their feeling stuff is few. It's not the many, it's the few. The many are working off of what they find interesting, what they do. Yes, they've got habits of stuff that they do all the time that they might not be interested in or whatever. But I think generally speaking, everyone is like, oh, new thing. And this is that you can just look at it from people that like start the gym and then fall off. Obviously, especially if it's something hard. Like if it's something hard and you start it and your interest is carrying you, and then you lose interest, and then it's still hard and you don't have the interest anymore. No one wants to do it. So I'd say generally speaking that like people as a whole, and that was what the book was saying, right? To be gritty and to keep going at something and to keep persevering, you need to be interested and a little bit passionate about it. And to have passion.
Sorry.
Popping out. Yeah, and to have passion, you need something that repeatedly engages your interest. So to me, that makes perfect sense. Generally speaking, that's how you feel. The bit that was, and I don't think that's necessarily an ADHD thing.
Again, obviously, I've got some traits that people.
Yeah. I mean, I know. Again, similar. I got the same basically. Yeah. I just refuse to listen for the most part. However, but what I do say on it is what I do agree with is figuring out the best way you work.
Yeah.
Because when one of the reasons I kept going to charity shops is because of the interaction of it. Like I was like, doing this is more like engaging to me than sit. Like if I was to sit and snipe, I would not be able to hold it. Like I would not be able to focus on it all the time. I'd be disengaged. Whereas going out and doing the practical thing and talking to people, and getting the stuff physically is a much more engaging process and easier to stick to. For me anyway, and how I work, because I could have told you I would be in the exact same position most likely. I would have started sniping, and I would have been like, just like run over, brain dead. Especially because I was already kind of brain dead doing business. So it would have been really, really difficult to me as well.
One thing I will say is that although my interests and my spikes of everything, the very baseline of what we do is that it's not I don't do it garnered off motivation, I do it off discipline, right? Like we have the things that we need to do, and as much as I am up and down here and here and here, we're only up and down from the level of which we've set ourselves, right? So we have the standard of what we are doing, and then my up and down never goes below the standard, but it'll go up and then back down to the standard, right? It does this a lot, but it never goes back further down from where we are. So what I will say is that we've done the bare minimum of what what we've set ourselves, and we've never gone below it and messed around and never missed days for listing and stuff like that. It's always been consistent. We do the same thing like that we need to do, but my interest of that is very borderline, and then I go up and down and spike on top of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Like bringing that base up to wherever it needs to be and having it held there in terms of like habits and accountability and keeping it there, right, is great. And then realistically, the interest on top of that. However, if you don't build that first, like if you don't build that baseline, then you'll
can be really in trouble. Yeah.
And that's when you see people yo-yo with relisting all the time, right? Like they'll go from doing, oh, they're really interested in doing a load, and then they're like, oh, I don't really care, and then their listings fall off and everything. But if you have that like established baseline, then you can peak up and down, and that's where you start. And for example, you'll do a lot, and you'll be interested in something, you'll push a lot, and then you'll fall off a little bit, and then you'll relax a bit, and then you'll push up. And I'm exactly the same. Like, and I think people.
I think that's why you don't set goals, is because you don't like. Obviously, I know you stick to the baseline, but do you not set goals because of that? Because obviously, a lot of this is based on the fact that I have failed we are going to fail the goal that we set ourselves this year, which is 200k. And we're probably on about, I want to say 175, 170, so we might sit
on for 200, yeah.
Yeah, so 200 was my goal. Well, our goal, but it was my goal, but for us, it was our goal. So 200 was the goal for the year, and we're probably going to end on around, based on what we're doing now, probably about 180 to 185, maybe, right? Which obviously is a failure in itself, but when you consider the fact that we set that goal where we did 113, was it? I think. Yeah, so it was 113 last January. So we've gone from 113 to 100, and let's just be conservative and say 175. That's still a massive, massive jump. And it's like it was basically like what, an 80% increase that I was trying to get anyway.
That's increase. So through this year, and you've talked about that goal, and like. That's actually like it. Although we've been going through this year, and it kind of like, not gonna lie, it kind of feels like the same old type thing. But realistically, that's fucking massive. Like, good job. I genuinely really like. And also, you set that goal without a running start, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. you broke down the fact that you needed to sell that much through the whole year, but you actually didn't start listing that before you started the goal. Yeah. So it didn't actually make sense anyway. So the fact you're going to fall about 15k short probably is bang on exactly what would happen if you would have had January at the right level compared to everything else.
So when we first started, right, like the very first year, the goal was to hit 50k. We did 75, and then the second year the goal was 100k, and we did 113. Right. So every time so far we've kind of nearly doubled what we were looking at. So obviously I've hit every goal. So this year will be the first year we don't hit our goal. And I'm not asked, like, there's part of me that thinks that with a few minute changes within the year, and some decisions I've made personally that may or may not have caused a few slowdowns, and things like that. Like, and actually just a little bit of laziness creeping in as well on my part. Tasha doesn't falter, but my part, there's been some issues and some times where I've been a bit lazy. Actually, I genuinely am super happy with where we're at now. My goal for next year is not the same as Tasha's again, because she wanted to do, like, her goal for it was 150, but I felt like 113 to 150 was probably a bit too easy. So I wanted to stretch it and push it. Next time we've both got different goals again, so it'll be super interesting. We'll talk about that in January. But in general, I'm more than happy with failing because I understand the reasons in which we didn't hit it, and I think that's the benefit. And we've spoken about it a lot, right? Like, if being so self-aware that, because I could have gone, I've done everything I possibly could. I've been to every single boot sale I said I was going to go to. I've sourced as much as I possibly can. And the fact of the matter is I haven't. Through different reasons, various reasons, like obviously bringing Tasha in from car boots into sourcing on Vinted is a very big change in general. And then what happened was I was sitting with her and we were both sniping. But actually now she's at a level where I don't need to be here. So why are we competing against the same searches when I could just go out sourcing at charity shops and go back to what I was doing, let her do the sniping side, like, but I'm just still doing the same thing, right? Like, so I think I was like, oh yeah, we can do this. And then it just doesn't make sense. So now, obviously this month, I'm putting a lot of thought and a lot of brainstorming into really working out and narrowing down the ways that we can grow it further, and then obviously adding the extra niche that I want to add, which I've already started to implement. I've got some places which in fact, I picked up maybe six things like lots that I bought, like bits that I bought, like bundles. And then I've got one I've got to collect today and stuff like that. So like it's really starting to come to fruition at the moment, which is really good.
Genuinely, like though, but like good job, right? Like genuinely well fucking done. Because that missing out is again it's there is not many businesses where you see growth like that year on year. And obviously it may get harder as you go along, but to basically go for 80% growth in 1 year, and you could have hit it realistically, and maybe like, oh, bad job for not doing everything you possibly could to hit it. But what you've got like 70% growth, maybe 65. Like there's not many businesses where that happens, and to make that happen and it not honestly not feel like you've that like crazy different is really great. I actually just want to quickly jump to I don't know who Kicklux is, but watch out for Thom Brown on Vinted. Thom Brown's like pretty badly faked, but so just keep an eye out for the Thom Brown. Make sure, because I've been tricked by some really good ones before, and I think Jack's been tricked by some before as well. So definitely keep an eye out. Shell just asked, what effect would doing those extra things have had on your work/life balance?
So this is something again I've spoken about probably privately more to you and Kaylee when we've had like conversations about other like the group stuff, and obviously we talk about balance in the group stuff, which also probably is another factor of like not distraction but like an extra. We started it in March.
Yeah, so it took up
most of this year is obviously we've had that as an extended business to deal with and stuff like that. So that's probably a small factor as well, but in general, my work-life balance is not really much of a work-life balance. It's work, and then it's an hour of life, and then it's sleep. And then I do that pretty much most of the time. And obviously that sounds like it's massively like unsustainable, but I've been doing it for like probably 2 of the 3 years that we've been doing this, right? And obviously a lot of that will depend on, like, I've got kids, but they're older, so they take up less time. Me and Patasha have been together for so fucking long at this point that like we're very comfortable with just each other in general. Like, do you know what I mean? So you don't have to be as like moddy cuddly, and we do get 3 evenings off a week where we can chill and do what we want to do or whatever. So that's fine.
Snow Chris gets Thursdays off, and we've got them watching The Boys.
Yeah, so we're watching The Boys now, and Tasha's doing it, and I think we're like 7 or 8 episodes in now. So and that's
you?
Yeah, we've been hammering through it. So yeah, in general, the work-life balance doesn't really change too much. What I will say is that for anybody that is in the group, and I did the accountability where I set like 1 goal a week, and I failed them every time because it's add-ons to what I meant to be doing, right? So it's just an extra thing that I've tried to ask to do. When I set 13 goals and said that if I didn't complete all 13 of my goals, I was going to fill out a CV and start applying for jobs. You better believe I did all of the things that I said I was going to do. And I think that is part and parcel of it, right? So if I had done Shells, if I'd have done the things that I said I was going to do, and I'd have done the extras in which I know I could have done to hit that goal, there wouldn't have been much difference in how much time I would have put in. I would have just have to been working harder in better sprints, because obviously, as we all know, and we're doing. Sorry, I just want to say we're currently talking and we're reading the book about digital. What is it? Digital minimalism, where we're talking about removing some social media stuff and all this sort of jazz. And that is one of the biggest parts to the reasons why I have probably not hit the heights in which I believe we should have done, because I've not been working to the full capacity the entire time that I'm working, if that makes sense.
My question is actually on this then. So, do you know what's interesting? So I also work all day, like realistically, like I like for the most part, like some days I get up slightly later, maybe 10 or whatever, and don't get out till 11. But I work till 8 and then go home, have dinner, probably do a little bit more, and then like stay up and go to bed. Like my day's mostly gone, basically the day. I don't work, but I would not consider myself. I'd consider myself having a good work-life balance, because even though you work all day, if you're not working fully, then you're doing other bits, right? Like you're not fully working. Does that make sense? So you're there. You're chatting to Tash in the background, like and sometimes it may be business oriented. Sometimes it's other stuff. You'll stop and scroll on Instagram or some shit, right? Like whilst you're working. So I think that like interaction of work life is different. It just looks different. But what I was going to say is if you had worked at max, and this is maybe the reason you've been able to sustain it, is if you had worked at max capacity for however long, suddenly that feels very, very different. Like that feels like the experience of working at max capacity for 8 hours to 10 hours a day is much more draining, much more invested in the work life set, much more mentally, mental effort. So do you think if you had work like that, then you wouldn't have been able to sustain it because it would be too draining?
I think if you're working at max capacity for the, so I've said this before, but like I'll get up at like 6, or like I was getting up at 6 not in the winter. It's been a bit lazier, but I was getting up at 6, and then I started work. Essentially, I would make a coffee, and as my coffee machine was making my coffee, I would be setting up the photo station. As soon as I pick up the cup, I put it by the photos, and I'm taking photos before I've even taken my first sip of coffee at like 6:10, right? Mm-hmm. And then I would finish the calls and all the group stuff at like 8 o'clock at night. And then I would probably do a little bit of sniping for half an hour, and then I would go and watch TV for an hour, and then I would go to sleep. And then that was my day. Like it was just, that was the period. So if I was working consistently and dedicated time all throughout that day, I could probably do that for 4 days a week, but you would have to take some time off it as well. And if some people probably don't need to, but I know I probably would.
True. I think everyone, like, I think if you're genuinely working all out at all points in time, like for like your 10 hours a day for 5 to 7 days a week, it's just impossible. Like it's impossible for you not to conk out. It's like, it would be like running constantly. Like, yeah, you can run, like you can push yourself. But I think that sort of stuff is difficult. But I think as long as my generally speaking, I think if you want to do stuff, right? Like if work is what you do as part of in terms of your life and what your enjoyment comes from a lot of it, and as long as you've still got the good relationships with people and you're maintaining stuff like that, then I don't think it really matters for the most part. But I do think it's interesting from a draining standpoint and an effort standpoint as to where you end up with work-life balance as such. Work-life balance is fake and just trends to guilt ambitious people into feeling bad about doing more. You can live, work, and parent without a 3-hour Netflix binge. Just saying. This is a staple of Hadley, who has been saying work-life balance is fake for as long as I can remember. To be fair, you can do all of these things. Yeah, like if you take out the waste, like the waste of wasted space, like for example, a 3-hour Netflix binge or whatever, you got plenty of time to work and do parent and like maintain relationships. Like genuinely, so like there's a lot of time in the day, even especially in this business. Like I was going to say to you, you say you work all day, like it does not take all day. Like it just doesn't at all. You can get the eBay side, such vintage side of things done in a couple of hours, like doing 20 a day, four maybe at the most, generally speaking, in terms of the actual process side.
Realistically, it's probably 3 hours to 4 hours max, and then it's the bit that takes the longest, especially the way that we source, is probably that, like, it's just sourcing. Like that's the hardest part, because I could be sat. Obviously, we know that I source in a slightly different way, but source online. But you could sit there all day and struggle to get 20, because a lot of it is dependent on what gets listed. So you have to just deal with that. So that's the bit that takes the amount of time. But if you're just watching a YouTube video and sourcing at the same time, like, are you even working if you're just clicking some buttons? Like, yes, you've got to be there.
Some people's work.
It is one of those. But I did this when I was working in my previous job, right? Like I would be up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd leave at 4:30 after loading my van. And then from 4:30 in the morning, I would drive to North London, which is like a 3.5 hour drive, deliver 5 to 6 trays of donuts, then drive to Chelsea another hour, and then I would drive all the way over to Gloucester, which is like a 2.5 hour drive, then do like 6 shops around there, and then drive back. I would leave the depot at 4:30 in the morning and get home at like 7 o'clock at night. And I would get home and I would be like, just like tired, like physically, like not physically tired, but like just like tired, like sleepy tired or whatever. But I could get them and do another job for 2 hours if like there was no physicality to it. Like, and even if there was, you were taking 2.5 hour driving sessions in between, right? So like it was just that's kind of the way that I've always, well, for the last like 5 years is probably the way that I've worked the most, which is for long periods of time, but in little sprints of doing things, and then obviously, and that's the way that it's worked up until now.
Do you know what's funny? I'm going to get back to Tommy's question in a sec because he had a good point I want to get to, and I also want to ask the question is like, so if you want to set goals and look at the reality of hitting goals and orientating yourself for growth, like get into what you need to be done to do that and stuff. But Annie said, build a life you don't need a break from. I love my family. I'll put it on the screen. Never put stuff on the screen anymore. I love my family, my business, and being a mum taxi. I don't want to break from my life I created. I find it funny that Hanley argues for that work-life balance doesn't exist, and then has perfectly balanced her work and life balance to the way she it's such a funny argument. Like, she's like, build the life you want with the balance you want. So I love my family, so she spends time with her family. I love my business.
I think the main
being the mum taxi as well, and then I get Hanley, like, she's always around her kids for the most part. So I just find it funny. Like, she's like, work-life balance doesn't exist. Best example of someone who's nailed work-life balance that I've seen.
Is it the fact that she's nailed work-life balance, which gives her the opinion that it doesn't exist, or is it that she doesn't believe it exists because she probably spends more time working than she does on the other things, but is happy to take time out to go and do the other things, right?
I guess balance always implies like equal.
50-50. I think that's the biggest lie, is that people go, oh, well, you work 50% of the time and then your life is 50% of the time. And the actual thing is that if you did a 9-to-5 job, your life isn't work-life balance anyway, regardless. Like, it's just not.
Technically, it is.
It's not.
It technically is, because you should be awake like 16 hours of the day, right? So if you're doing an 8-hour shift, then you got 8 hours left. So technically,
there's travel time. You usually do 9 hours.
I agree, it's not. But
technically, get paid an hour. Don't get paid for an hour in between. Like, there's.
And you're not doing 8 hours of fun afterwards, are you? Like, you're going home.
I disagree with. I agree with Hanley in the sense that work-life balance is a myth. But she does seem to have nailed a lot of work-life balance.
Exactly what I believe. I'll go back to Tommy. So again, with all this, right, and goal setting and missing your goals and like hitting your goals and getting yourself to do stuff, what do you think it takes to orientate yourself to a place where you're working consistently to success, right? Like you're so, for example, you asked me earlier, I never even answered the question, like, why do I not make goals? Mine is a bit different. The reason I don't make goals a lot of the time is because they don't motivate me a lot of the time, unless I'd have to really, really commit to the goal to make it happen, or to feel the motivation constantly. But I'm not very good at holding on to far away things, or using them as like fuel. So I rather have my goals orientated towards things I need to be doing daily, and then the outcome of those things is whatever it is. Right? Like, I don't care, but like I could aim for 250,000 next year, right? Great, I've got a good goal, but realistically, what are my goals day to day? What do I do?
Well, this is the thing, right? So do you not think that it gives you the guideline, right? So if you set the monetary goal, right, like it doesn't, you don't have to care about the money, right? But you did 106, 107, 8, something like that, right? So let's just say you went, right, I want to do 150 for this year, right? It's not about the goal. Like the 200K for me is relevant. Like 200K, like that number means fucking nothing to me in terms of like what it represents. But what it does do is gives me a guiding light to something to achieve. So for me, 200K was like, right, let's reverse engineer that with my average sale price. How many do I need to list a day to hit that? And it's never necessarily like, oh, I'm desperate to hit this goal. This is my new structure in terms of like because I knew I wanted to improve. So I knew I wanted to list more than 10, right? So, right, let's just pick this 200K. That's the goal. How many do I have to list a day to make that happen?
My issue with that is, why does it matter? Because you want to hit this.
As we've established for the last couple of months, I don't do well with stagnant.
Yeah, but my point being is like, obviously the number, and you can reverse engineer it, and goals are good, like having the targets and like that, like the guidelines and stuff is good. But in my opinion, the reason I say it is because like I'm gonna do what it feels like it makes sense that I can do, right? That's generally how my brain works. Is like, for example, now I have no goal with the next start. So with the charity shops and stuff like that, I could have set a bigger goal to push and stuff like that. But realistically, I knew that there's so much I can do here. Like I'm gonna do, if I had the time in what I was already doing, and I was getting like 20 a day from charity shops in the same amount of time, and I had time to do both, I probably would have just done it. That would have been end up what was happening. But basically, and I was basically around the limit. I could have gone to 12, I could have gone to whatever, but it would have been inconsistent. And I could push to do other stuff and added more time. But in terms of like the time I have and what I'm doing, I need to make a change in what I'm doing as my goal, and that will change my outcome. Or I need to like my goal will just be to do as much as I can from that thing.
Do you not think that if you'd say you go, right, I'm doing 10 now, right, and I'm comfortable, I can get 10 a day, right? 10 a day is fine, right? But do you not think if you'd have done the reverse engineering, you write like, I need to get 15, would that not have gone, right, I'm getting 10 a day, let's work out how to get 15. Do I push here to an extra shop? Do I push here to an extra town? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that to get these little extras?
Exactly.
And that pushes you, and then you do more because your brain's like, oh, if I want to get to this bit, I need to try and work it out. And then that's what motivates you. Now, I know you're different because you're doing it in a different way anyway now, but in general, I think it gives you that little bit of a, right, this is what I need to do. If I need to do 15, I can't just do what I'm doing now because we've been doing it for 6 months and 10 a day is kind of my cap. So what do I do now to add? So for instance, I know you didn't want to, but you could have added Vinted and gone, right, I'm going to snipe an extra 4 or 5 a day.
Yeah.
That would have been the way to add it. And that's kind of what I mean. Like, I feel like you can get in a state of stagnancy because I don't even know what the word is, stagnation, because you're not pushing yourself. And that might be fine for you. Like, but I'm talking about like my brain and I need to constantly improve. That's kind of where it sits. So maybe it's just a mentality.
I mean, you know what? You're probably right. I don't know if this is what you were saying, but in terms of like, I probably don't set goals because I'm aware of what I'll do. So, for example, unless the reason that the short term makes more sense to me is that like I know if tomorrow I commit to doing, I'd rather commit to my goal being 15 a day than commit to the big goal that doesn't have the grip on me, that doesn't, like, I know if I put that big goal, I don't have the commitment to I don't want that enough right now. So I can put that goal in place, but I don't want it. Like, I don't care about it. I'm not committed to it. So I could reverse engineer it or whatever and say, it's much harder for me to commit to that long-term goal rather than I'm changing this every day. Like, and be like, I'm now going to 15, right? I know how my brain works, and I just know how that is I feel like it's probably an avoidance of the fact that I feel like I'm going to fail it because I'm not committed to it. So it doesn't work in terms of motivation for me, and it feels quite difficult. But if I really, really did commit to it, I guess, but I guess I always fight between, I could really commit to this and make it work, but I also don't feel like this is something I want to commit to. I don't want that to be like, because I don't care about that thing, it's very hard for me to commit to it rather than the chat. It's just a load of waffle, to be honest with you.
Again, I think a lot of it's just down to personality traits and mentality, right? And the way that we need to do these things. Like you sat at 10 for way longer than I would have ever, like I would never have been able to, because my brain just doesn't allow me to. The interesting thing is going to be like, where do I stop? Like where is it? What level of like listing can I do where I go, I can't physically get any more? Like, I've exhausted all avenues. Now there is probably an abundance and there probably isn't a limit, like, or whatever, but just for like what I can do, like, what is the limit? Because if I'm listing 100 a day and my brain's going, come on, you need to do more, and I'm like, I've exhausted all opportunity here, like, what do I do to get to the next? Like, that will be interesting to see whatever. I don't think we'll get there because I think I'll probably moved on to different stuff at that point anyway. But I genuinely just, I'm super interested to know what my brain would be like saying if that was the case. But
I'm super interested now just thinking about it. Sorry, I'm getting lost in my thought of like what it is that makes me want to do or not do something. Like even when I commit to the going up goal, I have to want to commit to it. And what is the want to commit to it? Except for making something, for example, I guess we're going back here, but going to 10 to 15 wouldn't have felt like, it probably wasn't interesting enough to me. It realistically, like in terms of like that probably wasn't an interesting enough jump to warrant my full commitment. Even though it's really good and like really positive, it's kind of the same thing, but just more, which isn't that interesting. Whereas like doing what I'm doing now is very interesting because it's very different. And then figuring it all out is very interesting. And I guess you could say figuring out the extra 5 a day. Like I'd probably, like you say, I would probably just sniped a few on Vinted, like whilst I'm sitting around. Like it's not that interesting versus you know, changing it up. So I don't know how it works.
But you're not particularly driven by money in general, are you? Like I know obviously money's great and you know it's the fundamental thing of, unfortunately, of life, but in general you've not got like overriding sort of like thing or monetary sort of like, do you know what I mean?
I actually want to go back to what Tommy said then and earlier, which is do you think we need to set negative reinforcement for ourselves, our own negative reinforcement? And he followed it up with in any other job you got to please the boss, you can get fired, you can get punished, but in this we don't make negative to be moving away from it easier and stay stagnant. So I think this is a big problem for me, generally speaking. I think a lot of stuff goes round with negative reinforcement. Even though everyone preaches positive reinforcement and you know reward yourself for the little things and stuff like that, sometimes, and most of the time actually, most people do stuff because you know they're scared of bills, they've got people to look after, you know, they don't want to lose stuff. Like fear is a bigger motivator than positivity and sunshine for the most part. So I think putting those negative things in place, or that could even be in the time of a time limit, like in the form of a time limit, right? Like I always get stuff done, but it will be last minute. Like I'll make sure I'm there and I'll make sure I'll do stuff, but it'll be last minute a lot of the time. So having that time limit or that hard set in place to put pressure on yourself is I find a very good strategy to getting things done. I don't know about other people and what they'd say they need to do to actually get things done. I genuinely think putting those pressures on yourself is important. Maybe that's that goal, right? But that doesn't. Maybe that again. The hard thing with this is you have to believe it. So even if you put that time limit in place, if you don't really commit to that time limit, it's not real. Like it's not real. You're making it up. You're making up all of this. The goal is not real. No one's putting the goal on you. No one's making you make the money. It's your goal. You've got to believe it. Like I have to make this money. I've got to do this because I've got this goal and I have to get to it. And if you just don't believe any of it, if you're kind of screwed. Like, and this happened to me with daily listing or time of daily listing. I used to have a thing where we talked about daily listing, and I had to have it done before 12, and I'd have it done every day before 12. At night, and again, some people obviously do it way earlier, but I would get home and do work when I got back. And I would sit at the table every single night and do it at like 11 o'clock. I'd be doing my listings. And then I like let it go a little bit. And as soon as I let it go, the barrier, the pressure that I had just disappeared. And then I was doing it through midnight all the time and just getting it done over the barrier, which didn't make sense. Then it was before I went to bed, right? Like then it was just as long as I get it done before I went to bed, it's fine. So I think a lot of this is about setting stuff in place and believing it and making it happen. But in terms of being gritty, I want to go back to that because I think that is the biggest probably part of this. Is reselling is not the most complicated thing in the world by any means. Like it's a job that requires no qualifications, no significant technical skills. You could say, you know, sniping or certain stuff like that is technical skills, or you just using the internet in general, but it doesn't. Like it listing on eBay, even though people say it's overly complex, is not that hard. So what's left for you to do is figure it out and put effort in. And to be able to consistently put effort in, you need to have the grit to do so, and the commitment and the perseverance to it. And I think a lot of that is driven by you setting yourself up for it.
I genuinely believe that the biggest, you know, you said it's like not easy, but like the hardest part about what we do is actually just discipline to do the thing that you said you're going to do. Like having because you can turn the alarm off, you can list 15 instead of 20, you can, do you know what I mean, or whatever. Like there's so many different things that you can let yourself slip on, and a lot of the time it's discipline is the biggest failure of a lot of resellers. Like I've been in many places on the internet that has vast amounts of resellers, and the most common denominator of the people that are not as successful, that even though they want to be and they're struggling with their business and whatever, I can almost guarantee that 90 to 95% of those people, the thing that they struggle with the most is consistency and discipline. Like it's all down to that, a lot of it.
I mean, that's what I'd actually like to get into. We didn't really speak about it, but I would low-key love to come to school and talk about the book, to be honest with you, a bit more, because it, like, we talked about a lot about why this and that and like getting it done and stuff. But I think how to do that and how to maintain that sort of thing is a really interesting discussion, because I think, so for example, like I said, setting yourself up for success, like what do you actually need to do to stay disciplined? And it's, some people are like, oh, this one's easy, right? Like it's super easy. Like, and you said this earlier, like you think that the interest is how you work and stuff like that. But realistically, most people aren't disciplined. Like, again, this is the same thing. Like 99% of businesses fail. And some of it's because of, you know-how or other issues, right? But a lot of the time it's just people like failing to make it work, or being disciplined, or staying committed to whatever it is that they do. So I think it'd be interesting to talk about that. I don't know if there's like an out answer. Like I don't know if there's a one size fits all answer. There isn't, obviously. But understanding how to keep yourself interested and keep going is an interesting discussion itself. And I wanted to talk a bit more about today, but obviously, as usual, we went all over the place.
Pretty much.
But yeah.
Am I going to be able to convince you to set a goal for January? Do you think there's a chance that I can? What do you think that the goal would be strong enough for you to stick to it, to be like, I care about this goal?
I'll tell you now, I'm getting a slight itch to, but but not because I think the goal will change much, but just because I think I'll hit the goal, if that makes sense. Like I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do anyway, and I'll probably just hit the goal. So I kind of just want to say something fun to throw out there and see what happens. So I don't know, but we'll see. Again, I don't like goals. I'm more committed to like getting this stuff done, and then we'll see how it falls out. But we can throw a number out there, to be honest with you, as to what I think will make sense based on what I think I could get done. So, but it could, I don't know. I'm either gonna, to be honest with you, whatever goal if I set a reasonable goal, I'm either gonna hit it or exceed it. Like those are the options. I don't know what goal I don't know right now what goal, because I don't know how this will work. I don't know what goal I could set that would reflect how well it's going to go, because I don't know. So it's actually quite hard. For example, if I was doing the same thing and I just needed more, I could tell you, oh, I'm going to go, for example, I need to get 15 a day. So then I'm going to set my goal is this. So then that's how that would work out. Whereas I don't know what's going to look like. So it's very hard to set a goal. But I could just throw one out there for the funsies. We'll see.
So if you're watching this back, think of a goal, because in January we're going to be talking about it, and we need to know what everyone's goal is so that we can refer back to it the year after, at the end of the year, and find out whether people have hit it.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you very much, everybody. And we hope you're all doing well and hit your goals. Also, if you're new here, subscribe. Now.
Also, 7-day free trial on the reseller group. Go and check it out. We're amazing.
Facts. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.